Okay, today was kind of a special day. One of my dream guests is a guest today with his daughter. It's Dr. Judy Pinsky and his daughter Paulina, who have written a book called It Doesn't Have to Be Awkward, Dealing with Relationships, Consent, and Other Hard to Talk About Stuff. I've known Drew for a while now through Bert, and he is a friend of our family. And so I don't want anyone to think that I am being biased. But I love this book. This book was really, really helpful. It's written for 12-year-old and up. Depending on the maturity of your 12-year-old, I think this book is amazing. It talks about how to be in a healthy relationship, how to know a relationship is not healthy. And a relationship can be with yourself. It doesn't have to be with another person. It could be with your parents. It could be with a boyfriend. They kind of run the gamut of relationships, but the focus is about, teenage relationships and how to navigate them. They touch on some LGBTQ language that was so helpful for me, and sex, and a little bit on drinking and drugs, but mostly about trust, compassion, and boundaries, TCB. I just loved this book. I can't say enough about it, good things about it. I listened to this book on audiobook and thought it was fantastic, but it is also obviously available in hardcover, and you can buy it at Amazon or anywhere you buy books. Highly, highly recommend it if you have kids, or if you don't. It was just a great book and easy to read. I flew through this book. So I hope you enjoy my talk today. We talked about this. We talked about relationships. We talked about their relationship with each other. We had a great conversation. Paulina is beautiful and lovely, and such a great writer. So I'm super excited to share this episode with you this week with Dr. Drew and his daughter, Paulina. I hope you enjoy it. If you have any questions, please email me. You can go to wifeoftheparty.com and send me an email. Thank you for showing up every week. Thank you for all your emails and all your podcast topic suggestions. I appreciate all of them. So enjoy, and maybe pick up a copy of It Doesn't Have to Be Awkward and give it a read. Thank you. I wish that I am happy we're talking about this book, but I want to talk to you about father-daughter, because
everything. Are we going?
Father-daughter.
Are we starting?
Are we starting? Okay. Because father in the other room in physical therapy is struggling with daughter number one. And I keep telling him what they're going through is super normal and not a big deal. And Mr., I am hypersensitive, super emotional. My heart gets broken.
Who are you talking about? I don't understand who you were talking about.
I go like this and his heart breaks. He's like, what has happened? You're leaving me. I'm like,
it worked for the movie.
Right.
It helped made him be a good actor from the film.
Right. Yes. So, it made him a very good actor.
Yeah.
But yeah, he and Georgia are so occasionally bumping heads. I mean, it's like, and she is a good kid. She breaks a rule here and there, but nothing major. I am not concerned about her at all. Not even sort of.
No, I thought Isla was more like him. No? You're older?
Georgia is Bert's twin.
Oh, so
and
that's what I would expect.
Nobody knows that.
Yeah. So he'd mentioned to me that somebody was just like him. And so it makes perfect sense that he would conflict then.
Yes.
Yeah.
Isla is actually a lot like me, but Isla has a lot of Bert's anxiety. Georgia has anxiety also, but the only thing that's different about the two of them, Bert and Isla, are both dyslexic. Georgia has no learning distinctions at all. She's just a regular, typical learner. That's the only thing that we've swapped. Other than that, they are the same. And she will say something and he will go, I just can't believe that she said that. And I go, you can't really? Because you've said the exact same thing to me before. So why are you upset with her for being exactly like you?
Yeah.
They've just had this, I think it's one-sided. I think he feels this big struggle and she's like, I don't get it. Do you remember that when she was in high school?
Not like that.
No.
I would say that he and my brother, who is exactly like him, struggle.
Yeah. Still.
Yeah, because we're alike, but I don't know. Maybe it's the gender difference. I don't know. Because I feel like
I think you were busy conflicting with your mom.
Yeah, I had a lot of conflict with my mom. Yeah.
Right. Choose a team.
Yeah.
Well, Isla and I have always butted heads because we're very stubborn. We very much know our mind. we're very immovable when we're certain about something. And so if I am certain she should do her homework and she is certain she should not, it is an immovable, complete impasse.
The thought bubble over my head when I would be around their conflict, I would think, and this is, I don't mean this to sound pejorative about the parent, but would occur to me was like, who is the adult? Where's the adult in the room here? I'm getting confused because the adult suddenly starts behaving a little bit like the child.
Yeah, that happens for both of us.
Yeah.
I do with Isla, and Bert definitely does with Georgia, where I keep having to remind myself and him, we have to remain the adult. You can't be the child or the parent.
That's exactly right.
Because once you're a parent, you're an oppressor, sort of. You're like, you will do what I say because I say so.
Right.
That's big boy.
Oh, he's doing that now. Oh, really? Interesting. That does not sound like him.
The king gets what the king wants. The king wants you to stay home and watch a movie tonight. And I'm like, she's 17. It's Saturday. Are you joking? I'd be worried if she didn't want to go.
But I bet you what's underlying that is more his own guilt about not being home enough and that kind of thing. 100%.
Yeah. But that's not her responsibility to take care of.
Yeah.
He needs to clean that up for himself.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway.
I'm just thinking about, who's the parent. And I feel like with Mom, we went on a trip recently and she turned to me and she goes, you need to remind me to go pee every once in a while. I was like,
what? Role reversal.
Yeah, I was like, okay, I am the mom now.
Yeah.
Well, that definitely eventually happens. Trust me. That's soon enough. You'll
like it or not, right?
Yeah, those role reversals do happen. But has Isla started to think about where she wants to go to school yet?
Isla or Georgia? Georgia's the senior.
Oh, George is the older. Wait,
that's
older. Why I get confused.
Yeah.
Okay,
George is the older.
Georgia's more like Bert.
Yes.
And Georgia's the senior.
Yes.
And she was at both of them were at the thing.
She's the tall girl.
And
what?
Because I could tell she's sort of done with she's sort of, I don't want this. I'm sounding pejorative. I don't want to, but she's just like, she's done with all of this, all the comedy stores and everything. She just seemed like, whatever.
Well, it's been an interesting life for them, I think, because they've never seen him perform live ever.
Really?
Because his not appropriate.
Yeah.
Right. And half the stuff he's talking about is me. And it's sexual. So it's not appropriate.
And them too.
And them.
Yeah.
And
at least it used to be more about them, right?
It used to be. Yeah. It kind of still is, but in a different kind of lane.
Yeah. It's more he takes the fall now rather than making fun of them. Remember when you had them watch something that he did?
Yes.
And they were like confused. They thought it was that you were making fun of us.
Yes. That. So we were like, until they're a certain age, he just needs to be dad who tells jokes for a living. They have no real interest in understanding even his work. They don't really care. Right. They don't want to watch comedy special. Like they don't want to watch Nate Bargatze. They don't really care. They're not.
They
curious
might get into
at all.
the movie though when that comes out.
They might
they'll be at the premiere and stuff. And
and we've let them do their own pace. He needs to be just dad.
Always that period. That should be his job. Just keep all the rest of it out. Just
from the beginning, we were like, let's just act like you're at the bank.
Yeah.
The bank's just like couple hours away. You don't come home until once a week. But so we've kind of done it like that. So when they went to the improv, that's actually, I think, the first time they've ever been to the improv.
Really?
So they don't really get it.
Well, yeah. Okay. That's maybe
probably
what I was saying.
Good.
Yeah, that is good.
They don't really get it.
Because I feel like we weren't really brought into any of it until we were like seniors in high school when he got the HLN gig. And then they started using us as props. They're like, you're going to do these hilarious bits. And then, it'd be 3 hours of filming.
I had a daytime talk show then too. And the daytime producers really, they wanted your kids involved.
Oh, really?
And
they were like, it's only going to be an hour. And then it was 6 hours of filming.
Oh, that's hard. How old were you?
18.
Okay. So you were
college.
a little older.
We were all about to leave. So we were all ready to just sail on out of there.
Well, that's what I'm looking forward to for you. Where is she going? What's the plan?
I am not sure. She's very close to the vest. We hired a private counselor because we could tell in the beginning that she did not want us in her business. She wanted it
in the collegiate business.
In the collegiate, she very much wants to be her own person.
Okay.
And she lives with two very distinct, very strong personality parents. There's no way I could be married to Bert if I didn't have quite a strong personality. So I think sometimes we call it fire hosing. She gets fire hosed. I just fire hose her because I get so excited and I'm so into it. And let me help. And what can I do? Let's talk about it. Let's work it out. Let's figure it out. And she's like overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And then her dad's like, you should go to Boulder. That's where you're going. And she's like, well, I don't even know what that means.
It's a really interesting topic I've never thought about, which is there are, we talk in the world of mental health, we talk a lot about personality constructs and how people fit together and their defense strategies and things. But we rarely talk about what I would sort of characterize as big personalities. Because people with a lot of energy and a lot of them, it's a real thing. It's a real thing. And I could see how that would be kind of overwhelming for kids. Yeah. It's rarely talked about.
We overwhelm both of our children. Both of us do. And I'm in therapy, been in therapy for years. And my therapist a couple years ago told me, she said, you're fire hosing your kids. You've got to
take a beat,
take a minute and figure out how they need to hear it instead of, it's almost always from a good place. I'm just super passionate and motivated.
Of course.
And excited.
It goes without saying.
And
right?
my mom.
That's not the issue.
No, that's not the issue. And I didn't have a super invested mom. So I'm like, I'm getting in there. Girl Scout troop, let's do it. I got it all done. And they don't need that all the time.
Right. It's like that's you doing it, not them doing it.
Well, no, I don't do it for them.
No, I understand.
I
but
just
it's still...
make the environment ready so they can jump in. And Georgia, I sensed really early that she really wanted this to be her process. So we hired somebody and we basically said to the counselor, let us know when we need to be involved.
Is she? Can you even tell whether she's going to stay local or go away or looking at both?
Well, she changes by the minute. Here's the thing too about Georgia. She's always been very young. Like she was the last in her group to stop playing with Barbies. She's kind of the last in her group to kind of phase into the next phase of development. She's a June birthday. So in the beginning of this process, she was like, I think I just either want to take a gap year or go to community college. And we were like, do it. Right on.
Last night we were talking about how I wish I had taken a gap year before college because I mean, granted I did fine. I was successful, whatever, but I think I would have been more equipped and ready for it. Like all the kids who went to Israel for a gap year did really well because they had been out in the world outside of a high school context.
That was a common thing at Barnard where she went to school.
Oh, I see.
The common thing. But I got depressed on first year of college. My brain couldn't handle it. And when I actually left for a little while. And when I came back and recommitted to pre-med stuff, I was able to make the commitment and my brain was working a lot better, especially a male brain, way behind.
You
just can't do it. You can't force it to do things. It's not developmentally there.
Yeah.
So I'm sensitive to that.
It's a good idea.
Yeah.
It's not a bad plan.
Oh, I love the plan.
Yeah.
Bert loves the plan. We're 100% behind the plan.
Yeah.
Now, a gap year doesn't mean you're laying on the couch and like watching YouTube. You're actually going to, we have several different professionals in our life, close personal life that she could intern for or she could work for and get some experience.
I mean, she could even get a restaurant job. I feel like a service job is like important for every person to experience.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. You can tell who has never worked service based on how they treat service workers.
Ooh,
interesting perspective. Yeah, I waited tables for 8 years and it does teach you a lot about life and how to treat people.
Absolutely. Because there's some people who just, it's a service. So they should be, waiting hand and foot. And it's like, no, they're just people doing their job. Like say hello, how are you? And thank you. You know,
exactly. And tip big.
Tip big.
Because they deserve it.
They do.
Unless they've absolutely dropped a plate on your head. And even then, maybe
even then
an
it's like, are you okay?
Yeah. I know. One time I was waiting tables. I had this table of I think it was something like 40 people. I had a huge birthday cake on this tray. And I had started taking the plates off the wrong side. And the tray flipped totally over upside down, made the biggest crash. The whole restaurant went dead silent. And I went, happy birthday. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I had to replace the cake.
Oh my God.
But it teaches you stuff like that. I couldn't have apologized more. But I didn't, anyway.
All you can do is make a joke and laugh in that situation.
That's it.
Or else you'll start crying.
And doesn't that apply in so many other situations also, not just waiting tables?
Absolutely.
So
I learned how to fall well because of figure skating. And there were a couple times in competition. I mean, it depended on the competition. If it was the strictly competitive stuff, I couldn't, fall and then make a face, But if it was the artistic stuff, just you got to make that fall seem like it was on purpose.
Right.
You know? And so I like to say I know how to fall because of that.
That's really kind of cool.
Yeah.
So then do you know how to emotionally fall, you think, because of that?
I think through the therapy that happened after figure skating, I know how to fall. But while I was skating, it was not an emotional.
You were involved in being perfect. at that point,
Like perfectionism was my demon.
Was that yours or was that from figure skating?
Both. I mean, I also was going to like a super competitive school, and I was putting a lot of pressure on myself, and figure skating is this, really hard sport in that, if you're not skating every single day, you feel that day off. Like I would take Sundays off. Monday morning, I'd have trouble jumping.
Really? That's intense.
It's one of those sports where you have to drill in every single day because you will lose whatever momentum you have.
Jumping up, spinning around 2 or 3 times and landing on a razor blade.
No, it's ridiculous. It's crazy.
It's insane.
I don't know how it's done, actually. I can barely get from A to B.
I could teach you.
I don't know. I mean, I got good balance, but I don't know. Grace and poise, maybe not.
Well, I think it has to do with just explaining how the blades work because...
No.
You don't think?
No. You can explain it all day. It's like trying to explain how to ride a bike and you get on the bike and fall over.
Maybe harder than a bike, quite frankly.
That's what I'm saying. I don't care how the blades work. I still won't be able to do it ever, ever, ever.
Well, you can get from A to B on a bike and your feet never leave the ground, but you can't really do tricks on a bike. Same with the
I'm not good
razor
on a
blade.
bike.
No?
I'm good on ice skates.
Ice skates.
Clumsy on a bike.
Do you miss ice skating?
I have dreams about it sometimes. Mostly the recurring dream is I'm at there's like a big artistic competition called Showcase at the Pickwick Ice Arena in Burbank, California. And there's like they literally have a spotlight come. And so they turn all the lights out and spotlights on you, baby. And that was like the penultimate competition for me. I loved it every year. Like when I was 16, I ended up winning the whole thing. And so my recurring dream is that someone else is performing and I just get on the ice and just start performing during their performance.
Oh my.
So
and I don't know like what that says about me psychologically.
It's kind of an imposter thing, isn't it?
Well, it's
stealing the spotlight?
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's more egregious than imposter
you're
syndrome.
competing. You're
well, it's not even competing. It's just like I feel this compulsion to get out there, and it doesn't matter who's out there. And it's like I know that I'm not supposed to go right now, but I'm on the ice, so I have to do
that's
something.
Interesting.
So it's almost like a high school like nightmare about
not being prepared.
Except it's ice skating, grabbing all the attention possible, and being in a spotlight.
Interesting.
You don't seem like the type of person that would grab all the attention possible.
I'm capable.
Well, we're all capable. Well, almost everybody's capable.
That's true.
That's interesting that's your dream.
That was a big part of the game then too.
Grabbing the spotlight. Well, that's true. I didn't think about that. Yeah. You want to.
What do you mean?
That was how you won that competition.
Oh, yeah. It was all about,
wowing them.
Pulling as much focus as possible.
And,
Yeah.
Big personality.
So I just want to finish the Georgia and college thing. I definitely have a feeling she needs to go away from school. Definitely, there's a voice in my head saying that.
She does not want to stay here, which is the struggle. I said, hey, go to Santa Barbara Community College. Go to San Francisco Community College. You don't have to live here to go to community college if that's how you want to step into for your college.
Yeah.
Totally fine.
Yeah.
We support whatever you want. So we actually, in the beginning, Bert was having a hard time. I don't know if you've noticed this, but he's very controlling.
What?
So he really wanted to be in control of this. And we had several conversations about it. This is another part of what I was talking about earlier. So what's happening with them is he is resisting letting her go.
Yeah.
And I am not ready to let her go, but I am ready to let her go.
Yeah.
She is so great that
he's worried that it's his brain.
yes.
He understands what his brain is capable of.
Maybe, yeah.
Oh, yeah. But it's in a female, so it's going to be better.
She's far better at coping.
Yeah,
when she started having anxiety attacks like wake up in the middle of the night, heart racing. I think I'm going to die. It's my last day on earth.
There it is.
Have no
That's
idea
his
where it
biology.
came from. Exactly.
That's it.
I got her into therapy with a cognitive behavioral therapist.
Perfect.
And I could not believe how quickly it helped her because George was in 5th grade.
Wow.
So she was so young. And, we went to see this doctor and explained to her what was happening. And she, in front of me, said to Georgia, this is what your mother's doing wrong. And I think Georgia went, thank you. Because I'd been trying to help her. I had terrible anxiety as a child with sleep. Mine was related to
You had chaos.
trauma.
Yeah.
Mine wasn't chemical like his.
Yeah.
So I had all these ways of coping that worked for me. And I kept going, count backwards from 100. Imagine a beautiful fairy and make up all the parts of her dresses and her wings and does she have antenna? And then, read a book. And none of these things were working for her. And I kept going, well, you're just not doing it. Well, let me help you do it. Well, let me try this. I was fire hosing her with all these possibilities. And then this doctor was like, none of those things work for her. One of like the 8 works for the way her brain works. And so this is what she needs. And she just picked the ball up and ran with it. And she still has attacks. She had right after we moved in here, which was not shocking. She walked in the back door and said, I am having a panic attack. I could feel her heart. I sat down with her. I was like, what do you need? And she said, I need you to just hold me. So I just held her and she shook and then we breathed. And then it passed.
Good for her.
And I was like, that's...
Mastery of panic is the way to deal with it.
What? Say again?
Mastery of panic is how
That's right.
How you deal with it.
That's what
science.
the doctor taught her. She was like, how you speak to yourself every day affects how you can handle yourself when you're having an attack. So she got her into this kind of logical thinking pattern that I don't think Bert does very often or very well. To go, is there really someone in my closet? Probably not. What's the likelihood that whatever I'm panicking about is happening?
I have tried to talk your husband off many roofs. It doesn't work.
It doesn't work. All you have to do is...
It works a little bit and then it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. Whatever he's got going on is a totally different ballgame. But I don't know, maybe because we got it so early with her.
Yes. I think that's part of it.
Yeah.
And she's female. Female brains are better. They regulate better.
Agreed.
I think she wanted
Yeah.
not to have this happen.
Yeah.
It must be hard as a parent to have coping mechanisms in place and to offer them forth and watch them not work for your child. Like, I can't imagine, granted, I'm not a parent, so I'm speaking in the hypotheticals, but what do you do when your child is experiencing something that you can't control?
So one of the things that has happened in the course of writing this book is our daughter's become more empathic to the parenting experience.
I would imagine so.
Particularly her moms, particularly because where we were on an interview with Megan Kelly the other day, and she brought up something about feminism and her commitment to fourth wave feminism, and I said, well, your mom was trying to deal with second wave feminism at the time, and are you more compassionate now to what she had to deal with during her youth, as a young woman? And her response was compassionate. And Susan almost fainted, like literally almost fainted.
The other room.
She had to get it. She was in another room listening. She stood up. She started hyperventilating.
Oh
and
my
had to lie
gosh.
on the floor.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. That's so funny. Wow. I keep saying one day they're going to figure out Mom tried
It's
real
slow.
hard.
It doesn't happen right away.
Yeah, right. I think one day to answer your question, it is really hard. It is really hard with my husband. It's hard. I've talked to him about this. His sister has the exact same panic. Those two people are identical. So, but they can't be empathic for the other when the other's in the panic.
Oh, no.
When they understand the panic viscerally.
Yeah.
Where I try really hard. I say to him all the time, it makes me feel so helpless. And at the same time, you're asking me to help you. So, but there's nothing I can do that's correct.
It makes you even feel more helpless.
It does.
They're begging for help and you can't.
And I can't, and anything I do is the wrong thing.
Yeah.
I could go, he could say, I need a blue couch. And I go, here's a blue couch. Wrong color blue. I need light blue. Okay, here's a light blue chair. No, I need a couch. And you're like, oh my God, I can't. How come we can't just breathe this out?
Yeah.
I'm so regulated.
My
I'm overregulated.
my advice to you in those circumstances is just be there. Just be fully present.
Trying.
Fully present. Don't get fire hosed, as you say, or bowled over by this. Yeah.
Okay, let me ask you
We
this.
wrote this book for you, Leanne.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to talk. We haven't even talked about the book.
Yeah.
I hope I have you for like 3 hours. I know I don't. But when he is in an episode, he will accuse me of things that did not happen, was not said. For instance, I'll say, it really upset me when you knocked into me accidentally. And he'll say, so you want a divorce? You just said you want a divorce. And I'm like, no, actually, I just said, I just said, I'm really upset when you bumped into me. So we're divorcing. And I'm like, no. How? I don't know what to do. So like, I feel like I have no defense. So if I say, no, this is actually what I said, he says, now you're calling me a liar. Well, no, I'm actually what I'm trying to do is bring you down by helping you feel better. Like I'm trying to make you feel better that I didn't say that. But for me to say I didn't say that is discounting him.
Yeah.
It's terrible. It's so hard.
One of the deep topics in our book was boundaries.
Yes.
And this is a boundary thing where you're getting sucked into his stuff so you can't stay centered and present.
Right.
You're in with
or
him.
he tries real hard.
He's getting you in. There's some porousness to your boundary, and so he's sucking you in because you didn't say it. He's having whatever he's having. That should be enough. That should be it for you. You should be like, I'm here. I didn't say that.
That's how I feel.
You're having your own thing here. And as soon as this is better, we can chat about this.
Right.
But it's called catastrophizing, right? That's what he does all the time. And you can't engage with it.
No.
There's a lot of things in mental health, particularly pertains to boundary stuff. It's mostly in addiction, really. But do you ever see The Little Shop of Horrors?
No.
Okay.
Sorry.
Do you ever, not even the 50s movie with the plant that ate people? Okay. It's this plant that eats people.
Yeah.
It's a musical, and it's also a movie from the 50s. And I forget, was it The Little Shop of Horrors, the movie in the 50s too? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the plant eats this little plant, and it needs blood to survive, and it becomes this huge plant that eats people.
Oh, God.
And if you go in the room by yourself with the plant, it manipulates you in and eats you no matter what.
Wow.
It sucks you into the plant.
Right.
Humans can't withstand its force unless somebody else is there pulling you out.
Right.
Another person can keep you out. It's a perfect model for addiction and codependency.
Interesting.
But it's even, I've not really thought about it this way. It's also a model for other boundary issues because the boundaries you guys are too close, enmeshed. You have your fittedness that works, and that has some holes in it. And you're going in emotionally, and you've said it multiple times today around, I want to help. I want to make it stop. I feel helpless.
Yeah.
And helplessness for you is back to trauma.
Yes.
So it's a horrible feeling for you.
That's
You want it to stop. So there you go.
Yeah.
And so it's really it's not him, it's your helplessness that you want to stop.
Okay. Well, that's very smart.
And that's codependency. It's when it's your pain, your feelings that are being evoked by another person, which you have to, you experience it as consciously, he's suffering, I want to make him stop. But what's really going on is his suffering is triggering my helplessness. I need that to stop.
Got it. That makes so much sense.
So
yes. So then when that happens again, I have to recognize that it's triggering my helplessness.
Your helplessness. You got to separate your feelings from his. His feelings is catastrophe. The world's coming to an end. Yours is I'm helpless to stop this pain, and it's immobilizing my pain. I see that he's in pain. You can actually have a little bit of when you start asserting those boundaries. It can feel a little, I don't want to say good, but a little joyous that you can appreciate somebody else's pain without it infecting you, and you can be fully present for them.
The first word that came to my mind was mean.
It seems mean.
When you insert those boundaries, you might feel like you're being mean. Isn't that interesting?
You have to, and you have to be careful. You can be mean. It's easy to be mean because you can start pushing away, right? That's the opposite. This is where people get all screwed up in the sort of tough love stuff. They wait till they're so fed up, like I'm done, I'm out of here, screw you, and they mean it. I'm done with you. No, what you got to do is like, there's a boundary here. I love you. We're gonna help you. I'm whole and separate. You need a key on the door. I need to lock the door and put you in that room to have your panic. Whatever.
Yeah.
You know. And that's not mean. That's just what they need. And it's being present. Be present. That's the main thing. Without getting mobilized into the plant.
Yeah.
But I also think that
too, it's called.
As, a culture, we're not good at asserting boundaries. So it can feel mean in that drawing a line in the sand is a limitation of sorts, and not to be, fully helpful is kind of this vulnerable thing. Like it's almost easier to be, the helper.
Yeah.
So I relate to that. It everyone asserting their boundaries for the first time is a messy look, I think. Like even I was talking about my brother the other day to my other brother, and he was having a problem with the way that my one brother was communicating. I'm not going to say their names, even though now it's clear who I'm talking about.
No, it is. I don't know who you're talking about. I don't know who you're talking about. But
You
go
don't?
ahead.
Well, I don't know your brothers well
but
enough.
I keep going. I haven't heard enough yet.
And my one brother was like, yeah, he's just so aggressive. And I was like, well, he doesn't have practice asserting his boundaries. And so it's coming out forcefully. And over COVID, I lived with a roommate and it blew up. And, you know, I had to learn how to assert boundaries. And it came out really wrong at first. You know, it was like, I wanted to know when she was moving out. So I shouted, when are you leaving? You know, and it's not that I was trying to be abrasive. It was just that I don't have practice at asserting boundaries in a, you know, non-mean way, you know?
Right.
So it can feel mean at first, but I think ultimately drawing those boundaries around yourself is the only way to really keep yourself intact. Otherwise, you know, then you get into porous situations and things get messy.
So practice.
Yeah, we constructed this book around that stuff. We really thought there's a whole story how we came up with our little model.
Well,
but
that's what I would say. It's on my list right here.
okay, all right.
Ooh.
Whose idea was this?
A publisher, really. It was
Really?
really an agent. He was like, consent's a big deal right now. It's a big deal. Can you come up with some ideas? And I did. And it was just in the heels of the Me Too thing. And I was interested in sort of this topic. And when the publisher showed up, she wanted to do something for young adults. And I was like, well, you need a young adult point of view.
For sure.
And my daughter's a writer. She's deep in this stuff. She'd just been at Columbia where the woman's performance.
Emma Sokowitz. She did Carry That Weight, which is a performance arts piece in which she carried her twin XL mattress across campus in protest of the university not expelling her rapist. And she, you know, carried it across the graduation stage. So the university really gave her no reason to not carry that mattress.
Wow.
And so that was my senior year of college. And that was sort of the first time that I really assessed the ways in which I was participating in the culture at large. And, you know, senior year of college is like way too late to be thinking about that. And so I was really excited to be a part of this project because I feel like there isn't, the first time I heard about consent was freshman year of college. And it was, you know, consent is sexy. Yes means yes. No means yeah, no. And it was kind of a joke, right? It was like this hour-long thing that you did, and then you would go along your way and, you know, mess up the rest of your college career. But I mean, ultimately, you know, I was really excited to be a part of something that brought that into the conversation so much sooner than college, because that's, you know, the idea being if we take consent out of a sexual context, then more people will have practice with consent before they get into a sexual encounter.
And we didn't want it to be legal and medical and all. It's all everything else is out there. It's already there. We wanted it to be something a little more pragmatic and specific to relating to each other. And so then COVID hit, and we're writing this thing all during COVID. And it's sort of, we realized that it's a bigger topic. It's really about how to have healthy relationships.
It's right.
And then Paulina came up with this TCB concept, which is something from her youth.
Oh, yeah?
So
That's one of my questions.
Yeah,
How'd you come up with TCB? Yeah.
I've been obsessed with Elvis Presley since the third grade.
I read your book. I know this.
And he has his pack of friends, the Memphis Mafia, and they all wore TCB necklaces with lightning bolts, which stood for taking care of business. And so in the third grade, I was like, Mom, I need this necklace. And I wore it for 10 years and I prayed to Elvis before important things, especially ice skating competitions and tests. And so TCB is also my first tattoo. And so TCB is a framework that, you know, I've been, you know, praying to for the past long time. And so we took that framework and created trust, compassion, and boundaries as a acronym to healthy consent.
It's a roadmap, really.
Yeah.
It's really is a roadmap to how you should behave, and even with your relationship with yourself.
Oh yeah.
Your relationship with everybody.
Yes, that was Paulina emphasized that.
Yeah,
like the
in the
compassion
book,
for yourself, the trust in yourself. And I obviously was more focused on boundaries for the very reason we were just discussing with your situation, that these are really common things that I see all the time.
I'm sure.
In this country was the boundary problems.
Right.
And it became a nice little model to approach all kinds of relationships. We were talking about bullies and, you know, everything. We
Friendships, bullies, teachers, parents. I mean, there was just so many opportunities to really think deeply about situations in childhood that I felt like could have gone better, right? Whether that was, you know, a relationship with a teacher or, you know, how to handle bullies. You know, it's a comprehensive examination of all the different relationships that you're going to have in a lifetime.
It's comprehensive, but it's extremely easy to read.
Oh, good.
It's very digestible. I like that you have a quiz at the end of every chapter.
It's written for 12 to
I got it.
20-year-olds. Yeah.
But I have to tell you, it was written for me.
Well, we were thinking of the parents of the 12 to 20-year-olds as we wrote. At least certainly that was sort of my role, right?
Yes.
And so we wanted it to be comprehensive and complete enough, but digestible for a teenager. So.
I think it absolutely is. As I was reading the book, I listened to the book because I just got it last week, and I was like, I don't have the time to sit.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I can listen while I'm going to and from golf for my daughter and going to and from. So I listened to it, which I really enjoyed.
We enjoyed doing it, interestingly.
Yeah,
you did?
We didn't know.
You were both great. Really,
you.
really great. I enjoyed both of you. And I love that you included a PDF, which is on my list. At the end of the book, the actual hard copy book, there's a list of resources.
Oh, yeah. Lots of
and
stuff
phone
out there.
numbers and really important information. But you also include that with the audiobook. So if you buy the audiobook, you're not missing out on those resources. I thought that was great. Yeah. But as I was listening to it, I thought to myself, I wish I'd had this when Georgia started middle school because and then again, when Isla started middle school, because I think it gives you so many tools and so many kind of introductions to the way to think about certain things.
Right.
That is too much for a parent, and they don't want to hear it from me either. Exciting news today, because I get to say this episode of Wife of the Party is sponsored by Manscaped, because I have my first podcast sponsor, and it's Manscaped. And I am really excited because this is a product. I know it says Manscaped, but I use Manscaped. I love their products. I love their shave butter. I use it all the time in the shower. And I love their razor because I use it on my bikini line. Don't tell anybody. But I use it on my bikini line because I don't like getting waxed. I don't like it. It's painful. I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy the lack of directional that happens after you've been waxed. So I've been a shaver always. And when we got Manscaped in the mail for Bert, I stole it. I stole it from him for myself. So I was so flattered when they reached out and asked if they could sponsor my podcast because it's a product I actually have used for a long time. So for those of you who don't know what Manscaped is, it is a razor for men's private parts. And they also have something called a weed whacker for their ear and nose hair. And Bert Kreischer, take note. I think you need a weed whacker. I think we have a weed whacker. I think you need to travel with a weed whacker because your ear hair is getting really kind of like middle-aged man. So they not only have razors, they not only have the ear and nose hair trimmer, they also have, like I said, shave butter. They have, I'm pretty sure they have all kinds of pube products. They have cutting edge ceramic blades to reduce the cutting and the nicking that happens in that very sensitive part of your body. They have all kinds of skin safe technology. They have liquid formulas called their Crop Preserver is a ball deodorant. A Crop Reviver is a ball toner. I would imagine it gets kind of sticky down around there. So those would be awesome to be refreshed. Great things to have in there. Manscaped even throws in 2 free gifts with your purchase of your Performance Package 4.0. And the gifts are Manscaped boxers and a Shed travel bag. Sincerely, ladies, want to trick or treat with your husband? Here's a great trick or treat because you could give them some Manscaped and they could get all ready for Halloween. I think this is a great gift for Halloween, for Christmas, for birthday, for Hanukkah, for any time. Manscaped, I mean, I can't imagine a man going, why would you get me that? I think every man would be super excited to get anything from Manscaped. So such a great company. And their razor, we've had the same razor for years. It's lasted for years. So I believe, in my opinion, their products are very good quality. And again, I love the shave butter. Anyway, get 20% off plus free shipping with the code WOTP at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with the code WOTP at manscaped.com. And say trick or treat to his beautiful new Halloweeny. The other thing that struck me was, as I was listening to this, I picked Isla up from golf. And I didn't tell her what was on, I listen to audiobooks all the time because I drive so much for her. And so she gets in and she's hearing you talk about consent, and she's hearing you give examples of what to say if you're not comfortable. I'm not comfortable with this right now. I don't remember your exact examples, but can we just take a pause? I need a moment to think about this. And Isla went, those are really good words. And I went, oh my God.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
I'm not surprised.
I just got chills.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so
it was
good to
amazing.
hear.
Yeah, me too. And what I like most about that story is somehow you and the spoken word. I've told you this before. When she writes dialogue and when she's speaking to somebody, something about your command of, what do we call that? Dialogue?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's really a dialoguing she was doing in that. And it's just, it jumps off the page when you read it, and it obviously flies off when you hear it too.
Oh, that is such a, we've had a lot of readers so far, but I haven't heard from teens yet.
Right.
So it's exciting to hear that resonated.
It really did with her. And then every time we got in the car, I had it on for the last week. And she's listening and she's commenting. A friend of mine is a therapist who specializes in resilience. And she talks about having conversations with your teenagers. And the best way to have them is when you're not looking at them.
Especially males.
Yeah?
But all of them. I believe in the car. I brought up the car several times. Yeah. And Paulina goes, I live in New York. We don't drive cars that much. And I'm like, well, that's true. I guess that's right. But the car is a perfect place.
Car's a perfect place. So she's able to listen kind of privately, even though I'm with her.
Yeah.
And then
it's the face-to-face is where they feel confronted.
Yeah, it's too intense.
Staring at her.
They're fire hosed again. Even if you're not fire hosing them, it's too.
The males
vulnerable.
cannot do it. They cannot do it. You just can't do it. You're lucky you don't have that.
So I was reading this book, and when I was listening, I thought to myself, I think, if this is okay with you, I have a Girl Scout troop I've had for 10 years, and we have 8th through 12th graders. I have 21 girls, and we are working on a women's health moment where we are breaking it into, like, one of our meetings is about mental health, and we're having a therapist come and speak to them about mental health. But I think I may do some sound bites from you guys.
Wonderful.
That would
and
be
say,
amazing.
Please listen.
Super high compliment.
Yeah, that is.
Oh, well, I mean,
such an honor.
It's such a resource because it gives the kids the information without it coming from me.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the idea.
Yes.
That is the idea. And then a young person's voice in there, Paulina,
Exactly.
is what they can
That's
relate to. Because I knew immediately if I tried to do this alone, it's like, no
one's
way.
listening to you.
No
All right, old
way.
man.
I would listen to you, Drew.
Yeah,
But
I understand.
I
don't
would be
know
like,
what I'm talking about. It's hard to get listened to.
you sound so young,
Yeah.
but not like a child.
Yeah.
You sound young and vibrant and so positive. Every time you speak on this, you are in such a positive frame of being.
Yeah.
It's really amazing because then it makes these topics not scary.
Yeah.
If you were clinical.
Yeah, well, people think this is going to be a plumbing conversation. It is not. We talk about
the
some of the
amount
stuff
of
we have.
times this, media tour that someone's been like, when did your dad talk to you about
every
sex
time.
for the first
Oh,
time?
yeah.
It's like, no, that's not what
It's
this
like,
is
that's
about.
not even what this book is about.
We'll-
I'll tell you.
Yeah.
But that's not what this book is
No.
about. This book is about, for me, what I got so much information from this book as a parent. I did not know hooking up was a thing.
Oh.
I did not know that. And I was like horrified.
Oh,
I was
my.
like, people are just meeting up and like giving out blowjobs and shit. What are you talking about?
Banging left and right. Catch a body, move on. Like
No.
Yeah.
We have to extract you from your Southern heritage, young lady.
No. I'm no bueno with that. And I was like, is that what my kids are
to
doing?
To be fair, there's
Oh,
hookup
my
and
God.
random hookup.
Right,
It can
right.
be even worse.
Right.
You can have a random hookup.
No. But I didn't. How in the world? I'm 51. I haven't dated in 20 years. How in the world am I supposed? When I was dating, we weren't even online dating. That hadn't even really taken off yet. So I was really enlightened by how dating works now because, like I had said to you before we started recording, I've said this on the podcast before. I was watching Footloose with Isla, and I went, God, it's such a bummer. You guys are not going to get to have like prom. Like the way these kids these days work. You don't do prom like we did prom. Like she's bringing her best friend to prom, which is fun and awesome. But there's this whole romantic, like excitement, anticipation. I can't wait.
Yeah.
And even getting your picture taken was a big deal because we didn't take pictures like we do now. We take pictures every 2 seconds.
To get them back.
A
my
week,
goodness.
like 3 weeks where I lived. And so I was like, you don't get to have all this build and all this excitement and you have to wait for,
Yeah.
you leave a message on an answering machine and he has to check it and then call you back. There's no texting. There's just all this immediacy. It bums me out.
Yeah.
And so the hooking up is the same immediacy. There's no like dating doesn't seem like that's the norm anymore. Is it not the norm?
You're not allowed to use that word.
What
dating,
word?
Dating. There's no.
Wait, you can't use the word dating?
You can use the word dating.
Wait, what's wrong with the word dating?
I know that's what I'm saying, but
No, but what is? Tell me because I don't know.
Well, it sounds old fashioned. Yeah, like it'd be like for our era, it'd be like saying courtship.
Okay.
You could say courtship, but
well, they did say courting where I grew up. They're courting. No, I'm kidding. But what should I say instead? Like if Georgia had a boyfriend,
they're hanging
getting
out,
to know each other.
There's all kinds of codes.
So you can't label it like that?
But the point is they are missing a lot of the landmarks of forming and breaking relationships and assessing each other.
Yeah,
this is a really important thing that is being missed.
It's
rejection.
practice.
Yeah,
It's
practice with rejection.
Assessment, and you're learning about yourself, you're learning about other people, you're learning what you like. And it's affecting, what I've seen, it's affecting the young males even more because they start to they don't have these skills and they have to develop them. They start getting obsessional when they're in their early to mid 20s. They start obsessing about people and stalking, frankly.
Really?
It's actually simple stalking as they get into because they don't know what to do. They don't know what's happening.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's important that you encourage people to at least have coffee together, hang out together, face-to-face activity is important. And peers, same age peers do find that gratifying, right? It's with the parents, they don't want to sit face to face.
Yeah.
Right.
But with peers, they do want
I
to sit
get
face to face.
that,
And it's actually an important rehearsal. It's a way of regulating your emotions. It's a way of fitting with other people. It's so much is being missed by less of that. There needs to be more and more and more of it with less stakes. And I'm hearing that there's a lot less sexual activity in young people right now.
Yeah,
And so
way
the stakes
less.
may be down because of that, right? You can hang out and not have so much stakes, like, we're going to hook up or not. And,
Well, ultimately, we propose dating in that we want people to get more comfortable with one-on-one hangouts that don't include alcohol and are activity based, so that you actually get the time to get to know somebody.
Right.
And that step is just completely missing. I mean, I'm such an advocate of dating. Like I did a lot of dating in my early to mid 20s, and I feel like I learned so much throughout that, both what to do and what not to do. Like just the culture of Tinder and all that. Like you can get really used to being disposable and treating people as if they're disposable. And so, throughout writing this book, I feel like it really made me think about the ways in which I was relating to other people. And, I can't say that I was, a stellar example of clean consent and happy dating. But through writing this book, I feel like the TCB framework is such a helpful framework for every relationship. And I have friends of mine who are in their mid 30s who are like, I've been thinking about TCB nonstop. Like I've been thinking about it in my friendships, and it's something that can apply throughout the course of a lifetime, which I think is really special.
No, that has that has everything to do with everything, TCB. So I had a motto that I created for myself, and it was grace and gratitude. If you treat every single situation with grace and gratitude.
I like that. That's our next book, Grace and Gratitude. Grace and Gratitude. Because when people express gratitude, I know they're doing well. When they're able to express gratitude. I think it's a symptom to me of somebody who's in a good place. And if you can really feel gratitude for something. And grace is a word we don't use enough, I'd say.
Oh, Smiley named Isla Grace. Grace is a very important word to me. It has been for a long time. So but that is such a clear and easy roadmap, like TCB. That's such a clear and easy roadmap. If it doesn't fit in that context, then you need to work on it.
Absolutely.
That's what you need to work on. And I've been told I'm a cleaner. If I have a problem, I try to clean it up. I don't like problems because problems make you unhappy. They make things difficult. They make life, hard. So I try to clean up my problems, and you can't clean all your problems at
Was
one time.
that your role in your family?
What do you think, Drew?
Yeah. Keeping the peace,
Are
cleaning
you
up the
kidding?
mess.
Oh, that cleaned up every mess. I was the
Right,
only
right.
maid in the house. Yes. But I do try to keep myself as clean as I can because I want to be happy.
keep at. There's nothing wrong with that, of course.
Yeah.
But keep at the emotional underpinnings of it, so it's not steamrolling everybody else. you know,
Right. Oh, you mean not to require everyone to be clean like me? Is that what you mean?
Well, you say cleaning up. I'm imagining there's emotional cleanups and physical cleanups. I bet you take care of clean up everything, all the messes.
Oh, I do. All
Whatever
of it,
mess
yeah.
it is.
I
If
scoop
it's
the dog poop.
philosophical mess,
Everything. Yes.
you're the mess cleaner.
Yes, I am.
And sometimes let them clean their own messes up.
Yeah.
So I need to be more Harvey Keitel in Pulp Fiction, where I show up and just tell them how to clean themselves.
No.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Just
Because
let
he
'em-
was the cleaner,
You let them go as far down as they need to go. See what happens.
right?
And I apologize. Paulina heard me sending somebody to the ER when we were coming over here, and now I'm dealing with that. So I
Are you
apologize.
okay?
I'm on my phone. Yeah, we're
Okay.
fine. So.
Okay, let me see what else I put in here. Oh, I love that in the beginning of the book, you say, feel free to skip around.
Yeah.
You don't need to read this book start to finish. You absolutely don't. And I like how in the actual book, because even though I listened to it, I flipped through the book to see what it looked like, how it was formatted. I like that it has a table of contents in the beginning. I like the way that table of contents is organized. I'll should put a shot of it on my I'll have Halston put it with this section. But I like how you can find what you need and just go there.
Yeah.
Because kids these days don't want to sit down and read that whole book. That's an intimidating. When I got it in the mail, I went, oof, I only have a week. Holy cow. Thank God they sent me the audiobook because I had such a short period of time. But for
it's
a kid,
encyclopedic in what it covers.
Yeah.
So,
it's huge.
we kind of imagined that people would jump forward and backward.
Well,
So sort of organize it that way too.
Ideally, you would read the first 6 chapters,
yeah,
and then you would go, okay, I'm interested in bullies, or I'm interested in, oh no, I did something wrong, you know?
Right.
And so the first 6 chapters sort of serve as like a base from which to operate from. But we were really, I was really focused on making this an LGBTQ friendly resource. And so it was important for me to like really dive into gender and sexuality and the differences there. And, you know, I feel really lucky to have proximity to my dad's audience, because I feel like, you know, for some people, LGBTQ things are, you know, unreachable or inaccessible. And so I really wanted to make it something that everyone could understand.
You did. You did a really good job. That's
you.
on my list. I appreciate that chapter so much as an old person. I feel constantly like I don't understand what I'm supposed to be and want to understand. So, and if you read this website, you get one piece of information. I feel like there's no consistency. There's some consistencies, but sometimes I get very confused. I'm a very smart person, and I'm a good person who wants to understand. And I read this chapter and went, I totally understand. I completely understand everything. I get it. Now I got it.
That's music to my ears.
So I really thank you very much for that chapter. I am not embarrassed to say I don't know something.
Yeah.
And I did not understand.
There's a lot of
that.
people our age, I including myself, where you want to be an ally, you want to be a part of it, but you feel like there's it's Swiss cheese. Like, I think I understand, but I want to make, you feel insecure because it
Completely.
This is not new territory so much as stuff that the depths to which we all are asked to take a look at this, we're not that familiar with. And so we sort of have an obligation to pay attention that way, but it does get confusing for us. I get that.
It does. Yeah. And I feel much less confused because clearly my children have friends who are they, them. And I get, Isla was telling me how we were buying a gift for see, I'm already messing my word. I'm insecure now and saying.
I know. I feel you.
I
get you. I get you.
For someone, and they like to crochet. And I thought, that's great. And she said, well, they make all these things. And I said, who does she do it with? And she goes, no.
That's what
they do. And I went, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Because I thought maybe she was talking about her and her mom and her and her sister. But no. They are they, but I didn't know that they were they because they look like a girl, right? Dress like a girl, but identify as they.
Yeah.
But I've never been told, and I was like, I am still so screwed up on this. This is before I read your book. I'm not sure how to ask. what's your friend's pronoun? I mean, should I ask? I need to know all your friends' pronouns.
I got a coach for you. Right
Yeah,
here.
I know, because I
Coach her up.
really do.
I know.
Would
I feel
never,
you. I get you.
ever want
I'm with you. 100%.
them to feel bad.
Yeah.
You know, but also, how could I possibly know unless they've told me, and then I'm embarrassed to ask them. That's the thing. Is I
Well,
go,
that's the question.
I feel embarrassed.
Paulina, should she be embarrassed to ask?
No, you can always ask.
Okay, good.
I think, I mean, it's like, you know, I'm now in the practice of if I'm leading a workshop or teaching a class, I ask for names, pronouns, and usually because it's Zoom, where someone is located.
Uh-huh.
And so just making it a practice of asking people when you meet them what their pronouns are is an easy way to kind of get used to asking that question.
Got it.
And when it comes to they, them pronouns, I think half the battle is just practicing using those pronouns because grammatically it's a little bit challenging, right? Like, you know, do you say they are or they is, you know, because it is a singular person, but they're using a plural pronoun. So it's just a matter of
What's the
practicing.
answer?
I would say I would use proper grammar. So they are.
Okay.
Because
See how confused we are?
So confused.
It's so-
I'm a grammar.
Yeah.
I'm really. I love grammar.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I remember when in graduate school, I was in this class called the Kama Sutra. And it was
COMMA.
Yes. And it was a brilliant grammar class taught by B.K. Fisher. And that was sort of not the first time, but first time in an academic context in which we talked about the evolution of language and the ways in which, you know, they, them pronouns is a facet of the sort of malleability and sort of the way in which language progresses over time. And like, you know, if you think about how different verbs were used even just like 100 years ago, it would be different. And so,
well, we just did it. Courting,
yes.
dating.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's what? Hanging out.
Yeah. Language is always evolving. And
Oh my God. This is just a sidebar, but we went to France and I started working on my French to get ready to go there. The shit they're doing with their language, the young people, is way worse than what we do here.
Oh, yeah.
They just started transposing words. They just they speak like Pig Latin.
Oh
It's
my
called
gosh.
Français Verlan. And it's like, where did this come from? How am I supposed to understand you when you literally say words backwards?
Oh my
Oh
God.
my gosh.
A lot of words. And then when I went to France and started using it, they started making fun of me. Oh, you sound like a teenager. I'm like, what am I?
Right?
How do I'm American. How do I know if I'm using this stuff or not?
I can't win. I can't win.
Yeah.
That's funny.
The one thought that's in my head too about they, them pronouns. Whenever you feel nervous about using the they, them pronoun, I just suggest using the person's name. So rather than, you know, tripping up pronouns, it's like Samantha.
I like that. We didn't put that in the book, I don't think.
I think I did.
I don't think so.
I don't
Really?
remember that.
No,
Oh,
I don't
really?
think so. That's a good note. I like that.
That'll be in the 10-year edition.
There you go. I don't remember that.
The updated edition. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's an easy
that would
way.
help. That helps us.
Yeah, it's very helpful
Yeah.
to say.
Because you say something that we can use, we immediately get it. Like,
Yeah,
okay,
100%.
that
Brittany
helps me.
likes to crochet. Would Brittany like that?
Yeah.
Can we get Brittany this instead
Yeah,
of
I like
her
that.
or they?
Yep.
That I just
'Cause we
believed
have
a
a
lot.
na-
Thank you.
To be fair, we have a natural sort of, I don't say aversion, but discomfort with using confusing grammar.
Yes, I agree.
We're speaking a certain way our whole life. And we're being asked now to like scratch the record.
You know, I
And
think you're
it's-
right. It
yeah.
may be about the grammar because when I was thinking to myself, my private thought, which may be inappropriate, so I apologize ahead of time. I thought to myself, why can't we just have a brand new pronoun?
That's where I think too.
I mean, there's
But that's where I think too.
Zem.
Why can't we have
There's
one that's
what?
grammatically good?
Zer, Zem.
Zer, Zem.
We do talk about that.
We do.
Yeah,
There's a
yeah.
whole table on the different
I
pronouns.
don't remember Zer,
Well, we
Zem.
had-
I
we
probably
had-
couldn't see the table.
Yeah.
It actually got so involved, we had to cut it down.
Yeah,
It gets
this
so
is like
involved.
in terms of just like
It's too much.
what
It's
exists
too
out
much.
there.
It's
This
too
is
much.
like very rudimentary, very introductory.
Got it. Okay.
And you know, the language is constantly evolving. The identity pronouns and you know, titles are constantly changing. Like I wouldn't be surprised if in 10 years this is, you know, obsolete in
Right.
some way. But I will say, you know, the more I meet people who are non-binary and use they, them pronouns, it is less about a grammatic kind of calculation and more of like, oh, that person is they, them. And to, you know, there may be times when you like accidentally say she or whatever. All you can do is apologize and move forward.
Right.
But I don't know. I think it's interesting because like 10 years ago, I feel like there wasn't a conversation about non-binary individuals at
no.
all.
Are you kidding?
No.
Yeah. And so
10 years ago? No.
No,
Which is
5
years
years
ago,
Yeah,
no.
5 years ago.
it's
At least for our generation.
yeah. Even me, like in college, it wasn't even really, I don't know if I knew anybody with they, them pronouns.
It's happened so quickly too.
Yeah.
I feel like that's part of it is that I feel like my grandmother, when the phones went from like the flip phone to the smartphone, it happened so fast. Everybody was totally on a smartphone. She was like, yeah, I'm never doing that. I don't feel like, I'm never doing that, but I feel lost.
Yeah.
And I have a new view and around your age is where I'm a little older than you, and where I started getting this idea that I used to think history was this slow evolving arc. It's lurching forward.
Right.
It is. You see a few of these lurches and you go, whoa, they're unsettling.
It's true.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah.
Let me see what else I wrote down. I loved this book. I thought it was so great.
We appreciate that.
Thank you.
I love the questions for the adults at the end of the book. They're questions that you give for your teenager to ask their parent or their adult or someone close to them. I thought that was really great because once again, George is highly verbal. That girl, not really 6 months, but birth practically was talking full sentences. I mean, could express herself verbally. Isla has never been a verbal expression person. She expresses herself physically, like she draws things or she sings things, but she's not good at saying, hey, I'm uncomfortable with this. That doesn't naturally come to her. So giving a child like Isla a list of questions gives her a voice that she may not be able to come up with on her own.
Oh, and as you notice, when she heard Paulina saying those things when you're listening to the audio tape, she can, that's good. I can grab onto that. And I think we had the younger kids in mind when we were thinking about these questions, because they really do need explicit direction. They need stuff that they can sort of use specifically.
Because no is not specific. And no doesn't always mean no. It's very confusing sometimes, I think.
Well, people, it's a boundary issue, right? People are not taught to honor no. And so, no is the first line of defense, right? Like we have in there, no is a complete sentence that should stop someone in their tracks.
Sure.
But there are going to be, over the course of, figuring out interpersonal relationships, going to be points in which boundaries are crossed. And so the goal was to give as many options for verbalizing that kind of, for lack of a better word, violation. And, it means a lot that Isla resonated with at least even just one phrase. If I feel like if we can get one kid with one phrase out of this book, that is a success.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Okay. Another thing I really liked was your talk about alcohol and drugs. This is something that, because we have a 17-year-old, we have, we are that weird parent who doesn't let their kid drink. We were sending her to a party not long ago and the parent called me and said, I'm not providing alcohol, but if it shows up, I'm not stopping it. And I just want you to know that. And I went, well, I just want you to know that's illegal.
Yeah.
And my child is not allowed to do illegal activity.
Yeah.
I don't have a judgment on drinking. Clearly, look who I'm married to. I have a judgment on illegal activity.
Yeah.
And I cannot.
There's an easy way to draw the line in the sand.
Oh, super easy.
Yeah.
Until you're 21,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm out of the picture.
Yeah.
It's
What
illegal.
other illegal activities do I allow you to do?
None.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
You can't drive somebody till you've been driving for a year. No, it's very easy. But then we also have this conversation you touched on in here where
That she talked about.
I'm not
Yeah.
living in
Yeah.
a cave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know
this is
that you're going to
important
do
part of it,
this
'cause,
shit.
Yeah, we're not saying we're not naive to what
Yes.
the impact of all this
Know
is.
what's happening here.
Yeah.
But you're not allowed.
Yeah.
But if you're in this situation, here's what you should do. And you did that in
Yeah.
this book where if you're not feeling well, stop. If you're feeling these things, stop. Don't go somewhere by yourself. Go somewhere with a group of trusted friends and help each other and keep up with each
Right.
other.
Yeah.
I've always been disturbed by the argument that arming people with measures, whether it's a seatbelt or a condom, somehow encourages behaviors that, what I mean? It's just, I disagree with that philosophy. I think
It's
just
asinine.
wrong. It's asinine.
Yeah.
You make things very clear.
Yes.
And then it should, unfortunately, something happen.
Yep.
I definitely want you armed with good material.
Yes,
to protect
prepared.
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just about
So-
being informed
Yeah.
and prepared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I loved that part of the book because I first of all, it made me go, oh, Bert and I did it right. Good. Okay. That was a good call. And then second of all, I thought I think more parents need to have that perspective because I think it's a lack of boundary.
It's lack of boundary. It's a fear of being an authority. It's a fear of being there's so much from our generation was about casting off the yoke of a previous generation that we're afraid to become what our parents were to us.
Right.
So we're uncomfortable. We'll do it, but we're uncomfortable with it. We're awkward with it. And you just have to be super clear and direct. And
right.
That's
Yeah.
it.
We're very good. We just busted Georgia breaking a law the other day. I busted her cold and clear, and there was no getting out of it, no lying. And I have to say that it was.
You're gonna have trouble dropping the axe, though. I know that.
No.
Did you?
Oh no.
Okay, all right.
When it is. Here's what I have trouble with: ambiguity. If there's any gray area, if there's any did she, didn't she, if I don't have absolute proof, I have a hard time dropping the axe.
Sure.
But I saw with my own eyes a law-breaking activity and went, okay, done. I have no problem now being the bad guy because I have absolute proof of I'm the bad guy.
Excellent.
But
good boundary.
Well, in that one circumstance,
Boundary
anyway.
practice. It's good.
I really did like the
And
drinking
do it with
and drugs.
love and kindness.
I did, and
Yeah,
I completely get it.
Yeah, it's like it's not about me. It's about
the law.
My job is to drop the axe now.
Yeah,
It kills me, but
your choice. You made the choice.
Yeah.
You know the law. You broke it.
Yeah.
Now it's my job to tell you
Yep.
absolutely no.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you wish you had put in this book that you didn't?
you brought something a few minutes ago. What was it all about using the names?
Using
We
names,
wish we'd done that.
Because it's a pretty complete, comprehensive. There was nothing left out of it.
We
busted ass on that
tried
book.
to get
Like
everything.
I have no notes. So I just wondered
That's
if you
amazing.
had any notes.
We really, when it was all done, we felt like we did what it needed to do.
Yeah.
We really both looked at it like this book did what it's supposed to do.
Right.
And that's all we can be asked of ourselves or of the book itself. Like this, because it was an interesting. You got to remember, we were walking a specific corridor, which is we don't want to get too deep into consent and medical, legal, and all the crap it's out there everywhere. We don't want to get too into plumbing and horrible, kids are exposed to this stuff.
Anatomy.
It's everywhere. They have the internet now. It's like, who are we kidding?
Yeah.
It's available. How do you navigate your emotional landscape in relating to other human beings, given that that's the world we live in, where all these things are raining down on us?
Right. You did that.
I think we did.
Very well.
I would be
think so.
interested in doing a sequel that is like the next phase of life, like whether that's just explicitly college or that's like young adulthood, because I feel like the challenges are different. Like, in this book, we talk about like red flags with adults who are not your parents, whether that's a teacher or a, youth leader or whatever it is. I just wonder what we would say when it comes to early adulthood and like what to look out for.
It's interesting. I've not given that much thought, but it would be hard.
It would be much harder.
Really
I
hard.
think. Yeah.
And it would be much more psychological.
Interesting.
Because a lot of the and then I get worried because we're giving people explicit prescriptions,
That's
given
true.
certain
So
psychological.
maybe we'll just stick to this age group.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you this.
But we could do it. We could do
Yeah.
it.
One of my most popular podcasts is I sat with two friends and talked about our 20s versus our 30s versus our 40s
Yeah.
and what the difference was and what the challenges were.
This is what she's talking
and
about. There's
how
a
you
great book out
change.
there called Passages that was about that. One of the very first books, Gail Sheehy, I think.
I
was
get
it.
that. I recognize that name.
I think it was her. I think it was her. Anyway, I read that after I graduated college, and I was taken with it. It was so comprehensive in looking at these different stages of
Interesting.
life. I could not find anything relatable or interesting after about the 40s.
Right? It was too far. Yeah. Oh, I'm never going to make
I'm
it
going to
there.
go get that book on the way home. But
Yeah,
anyway.
me too. I was like, Passages. I'm going to buy that and see what it says.
But that needs an update. Somebody else told me they were going to write something like that too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I bet that would be a good update.
Yeah.
Because I bet it looks different now than it did when she
Well,
wrote it.
I think she has a website now and all this stuff. It's
Probably.
probably updated. But we could maybe take, again, a different angle, given that it's
Yeah.
all out there. Maybe we could take a
Well,
different.
TCB as a framework.
Yeah,
Well, I have an idea for you.
For all
based
ears.
on this Girl Scout badge that I'm working on that's women's health, which could be applied to health in general, is what we were interested in exposing the girls to is how to handle your mental health in general, how to know when this is a mental health crisis or when this is not a mental health crisis.
Yeah.
When do you need to seek help? When do you not?
Yep.
What do you look for when you need help? What is an eating disorder?
Different kinds of treatments.
What happens when your roommate has an eating
I
disorder?
think that's our book.
I think that I would love that book for my kids because mental health has been a focus of mine for me personally since I was 23. It's been one of my main focuses in my life, and going into therapy and really digging into the trauma I experienced as a child completely changed my life.
Yeah.
I would never be happy. I would probably, to be honest with you, be dead. I would have drank myself to death. And I just want so much for anybody who's in pain to have some information, because sometimes I know on my podcast I'll talk about stuff with my mom, because almost all my trauma came from my mom. People will email me and say, I have that same story and I didn't know anybody else did.
That's common.
And I
feeling.
didn't know what to do. And I've read some books that were directly related to how I discovered what was going on with my mom, and they'll email me later and go, I read that book. It's exactly of the same reaction you had. Thank you so much. Because we just don't know where to find that. I think if you had one book that said, here's depression. This is situational depression. This is chemical depression.
Yeah.
This is whatever depression is. In the way that you did this book, where it's super easy to digest and understand, and you have resources in the back where you can get more information. Just like a mental health for dummies, but better.
Yeah.
It is a good idea. I mean, one of the things that hope come out of this one too is that a lot of people, parents, get confused too between when they're having a mental health problem at home versus a parenting problem.
Right.
It's very hard for them to tell the difference.
That is very true. Now that you say that, there are
Yeah.
so many parents that I have in my life where I go, I think you just need some boundaries. I think you just need to not let him get away with that.
Yeah. And on my end, I oftentimes see people like, no, stop coming at this child. Let's get this child a doctor. Let's get this evaluated, see what's
And
going on.
how to know the
here.
difference.
Yeah. It's hard. It's not easy.
Oh, I can only imagine. I think the resource for maybe not 12 years old, but maybe high school, college age, because once you get out on your own, and some mental health things don't show up. I didn't know that I was off in a ditch until I was literally off in a ditch, and was like, oh, I got arrested. I got a DUI when I was 20. And they put me in jail, and my uncle was also in jail for DUI that day.
Oh, that's fantastic. It's the best.
And I started going,
where were you? Just set the scene for us.
Interesting.
What?
I was in my hometown in Bowden, Georgia. I was actually in Carrollton, which was the neighboring town. It was 4:00 in the morning. I'd been drinking for hours. I drank.
But that can go two ways. You know, when you're in there with your uncle, you could become comrades in resistance and your disease of alcohol,
Yeah, right.
whatever it is.
Luckily, he was also schizophrenic, so I had no connection with that.
All right.
But I literally they wouldn't put me in the drunk tank because it was all men.
Oh,
So I had
man.
to sit in an office with a female officer
Oh, that's
until
hysterical.
my ex-boyfriend's drunk dad picked me up, also drunk. I heard him open the front door of the police station and go, "Where's my goddamn daughter?"
Where
And I went, "Oh,
are your
shit."
ancestors from? Your ancestors, not your family in the
Bowden,
South.
Georgia. We've been there for so long.
It's the
I
Revolutionary
think-
War. A lot of them came in during the Revolutionary War.
Think we're Scottish.
Yes, no, it's English Highlands, Scottish.
Pretty sure.
There's a famous book called The Albion Seed, and it's about the Scottish and English Highlands that came in through the Carolinas and down into the South,
And Georgia.
and they were essentially. You watch Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
Essentially wildlings.
Yeah, no,
Essentially
I know,
wildlings.
yeah.
Essentially
You
what they
already
were.
told me once I was a wildling.
I probably did.
You did.
Okay.
You were like, oh, you're a wildling. And I went, I think you may be right. Because I probably could survive in that tundra by myself with nothing but a knife.
And they brought wonderful stuff with them
They
in
did.
terms of their creativity and their
Music
humanity and
yeah.
there's just tons of, but lots of alcoholism and lots of mental illness.
Lots.
And then the
Lots.
really crazy ones got on wagons and went west. That's
Right.
the really
Psychotic,
super
right?
crazy ones.
Yeah, yeah.
They left St. Louis and went on through into the Indian Territory. The
Wasn't Georgia originally a colony for
Criminals.
Yes.
Yes. It's where they sent all the criminals.
Yeah, from England.
very, very
That's
originally.
right.
But this
Well,
is a
early,
different
early.
thing. This
Okay.
this came in through the Carolinas and settled all through.
Well, my
Okay.
people are Appalachian.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we are still in where I grew up has a little bit of Appalachian Mountain, just a little bit. Turkey Heaven Mountain, because that's an appropriate name, Turkey Heaven.
Yeah.
But Blackjack Mountain. I grew up all in that area.
It's a little dry, this book, Albion Sea, but it talks about how there were no weddings. You stole your wife.
Oh my
You
God.
just steal them. This
It's
is
like a
all
gypsy wedding.
You just go into the group of gang, you kidnap the woman.
Just take her.
That's your wife. And then they had all kinds of wars and clans and fighting and beating.
Well, that still happens. The wars and clans and fighting and beating.
Yeah.
And, you know, Bert and I got married there, and we were filling out our marriage license application. And question number 4 was, are you blood relative? And Bert went, what does that mean? And I said, it means, are we related? And he went, are you fucking kidding me? And I went, no, I'm
really
actually
like that in
not.
the
My
South.
boyfriend in high school was my 3rd cousin, and that was as far as I could get.
Oh
So
my
yeah,
God.
we're all kind of related around here. So I just want to make sure we're not related. It was crazy.
You did not have to check off that box.
No, it did not. We were like, no.
Where are Bert's ancestors from? Do you know?
They're Irish, German. Yeah, Philly and New Jersey. Kreischer is a very German name.
German. Yeah, I feel like I see the German thing. But German, like during First World War type?
Oh, they were
immigrants,
here
or way
before.
Yeah, way
Yeah, they were here before.
Yeah.
And then Bert's mom is Hobson. She's very Irish.
Yeah.
The Hobsons, I guess, were all the butlers. They were like high-end butlers in Philly.
Oh, that's so interesting.
But then she came from a very wealthy family. So the last Hobson butler clearly parlayed into some good business activity.
I enjoyed meeting them so much at
You did?
at the Improv. They really were lovely.
They are
Yeah.
very sweet,
Yeah.
lovely people. They're very proud of Bert.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Bert got a huge award and it was given at the Improv, and all the
And your mom and dad came.
but it was like all the brass from Hollywood was there, to congratulate him, and his parents showed up, and it was really a lovely event.
It was really
yeah.
great. It was really the most important people to Bert. Everybody that was there was the most important people,
And he spoke about everybody like from the heart. I mean, it was quite an
That's
emotional
beautiful.
thing,
He was very moved.
Yeah.
He's a very sweet man with all his anxiety and quirks and eccentricities. At the root of it, he's a very lovely man.
You don't get all one and all the other. You get a mix. You get the good with the bad, so to speak. I mean,
just very.
I
true.
like all his. I'm not his wife, but I don't mind all that stuff at all.
The only thing I
all
don't
that
like
stuff.
is that he's extremely, extremely messy. Slob, doesn't clean up after himself. If that improved, I think I would
That's
be
the one thing.
super. That's the one, because I am super tidy, and I feel like I spend most of my time making my environment peaceful for me, because that is so not on his
There's a
radar.
reality show in this.
Yeah, right? If he could just meet me in the middle. And when we first got married, I said, you know what? I would just appreciate it if you were aware that you're living with me. Like, I was pregnant with Georgia, and he left a laundry basket. He left his suitcase open in the middle of the floor, and I was carrying a laundry basket and fell into
Oh my God.
his suitcase because I didn't know it was there and I couldn't see it.
Yeah.
And then he said to me, I think you're trying to change who I am.
Oh,
And
my
I went,
God.
no, I just don't want you to leave this suitcase in the middle of the floor. I don't think
we
it's
have a-
Meanwhile, you're pregnant with child.
We have a famous story
Yep.
where Susan was trying to get me to remember to put the seat down on the toilet.
When
which
she
is
was pregnant with triplets.
Well, no. They went on well before that. But when she was pregnant with triplets, really pregnant with triplets,
the seat was up.
she fell in and couldn't get out.
oh my God.
She was trapped for like an hour.
It wasn't an hour. It was an hour, but it was longer than it was
Long
comfortable.
enough.
Yeah, long enough to be really like I was a changed man instantly. It was like,
Wow.
okay, got it.
Like, so much
I'm
so
not
that-
100%, but I'm pretty good now.
So if
I
I
know
get
this
trapped on the
story.
toilet now, do you think it would
Well,
change?
No, it's not. I'm surprised the falling in the suitcase didn't do it. Frankly, so you're gonna have to fall down the stairs and break your hip, I guess.
No, I have no idea. Tripping over his big size 13 shoes. I don't know.
my God.
Yeah, that's the one thing. If I could change something about Bert, it would be that. Just his awareness that he lives with another person who doesn't like living like that.
No.
But in his defense, he's in a hotel all the time.
You got to
not
find
accountable.
the motivation. You
Yeah.
got to find that motivation. It's like stopping drinking or
Maybe
getting
a
on
sticker
diet or
chart.
something.
A sticker chart.
He gets a gold star every time.
Well, he would want to know what he gets for that gold star. I'd have to quantify
Well, you
that.
guys can figure that out.
may
but-
be more than I need to pay. That would be too high a price for me. You covered everything I didn't cover on my list. I thought this was a great book. I've already given it to 2 people.
Oh, well, thank you.
That's so
We love it.
nice.
Thank
I
you
was
so
like,
much. It
you
really-
need this book.
It was a
'Cause
great experience to write it. We got closer.
I do have one more question. What was the hardest part about reading this book? What was the most difficult?
Every 6 weeks, I called my dad, afraid that our relationship was only a working relationship, and that felt very problematic to me. And so
I would argue that was every 3 weeks.
yeah.
Really?
Yeah, because we would like have these like, because I'm in New York. And so, you know, if my parents come to town, I'll see them a few times. But I, you know, also throughout COVID, I was not here. And so the only contact I was having with my dad was in a professional context. And so I felt unsupported in a parental context. And so it just led to a lot of crying.
Oh.
But I feel like we got through it.
I mean, I think
I feel like we've been able to, and I was worried about this part when we're going out and book tours and peering all over the place, as if she would somehow, that would feel weird to you. But I feel like we've stayed father and daughter during those experiences.
Right. That's good.
I feel like this book provided the framework for us to jump off of for this media tour. Like we had conversations writing this book, of course, but like repeating it over and over again and like having the conversation over and over again is like really forcing us to listen to each other in a way that I think wouldn't have been facilitated except for this book.
No, that's true.
It's
awesome. True. You really hear stuff, and then we respond in different ways sometimes now. And
did you learn something about the other that you weren't expecting to learn or that you were happy to learn?
I feel like I've learned that my dad is a lot more, I mean, I always knew that he's a cautious person, but sort of my own, I guess I was able to really think about my own sort of like cautious voices in my head and why they were planted there. And I was like, oh, because of my dad. Like specifically the drugs and alcohol chapter, like it's like, oh, no wonder I didn't touch anything for the first 18 years of my life. I had this guy citing off, you know, statistics every day.
Not statistic, my experience. Dead kids, lots of dead kids.
Yeah,
and that informs you in a way that you can't do other than what you need to do.
Right.
I saw lots of dead kids. So it was not, and I told you when I first had that conversation, I'm like, you know what I do for a living? It's what informs me, and I have to do this.
Yeah.
Well, you have been a great public service, I think, to a lot of people. I watch Celebrity Rehab every single episode, and because I have addiction in my family, and I learned from it. I mean, obviously, it was a voyeuristic type of way of learning in a certain way.
That was to get you in.
That was to get you in.
The goal was to teach you about this process.
It was very smart.
Yeah.
And you were so gracious every single episode.
We're in contact with a lot of those people now. We have more contact lately. A lot of them doing really well.
That's so
really
great.
Well.
I'm really glad to hear
some
that.
are gone. This is a fatal illness, and it was my peers that killed them, frankly, giving them the fucking opiates and benzos, which makes me insane. But that's how that happens. But many of them really did well.
That's so great. Yeah. You should be proud of yourself, and they should be proud of themselves.
Well, they should be proud of themselves. I just, as my patients are always encouraging humility, they just go, you just got to turn us in the right direction. We got to do it. You're right. That's right. I just show you where to go.
That's right. But if you're not, but they hadn't found it before you. So clearly you are good at showing them.
Well, and much to my amazement, that experience in that show, the cameras had a positive experience. Because it kept them in treatment. They wanted to get paid and they wanted to be on TV, so they stayed. Right. Many times people leave treatment when they get stuff. So I could push during that show, and they stayed.
That's great,
which was amazing. And there was a transformation in every patient, which I was thank God. Which was they went from resistant, they wanted to screw us up, they wanted to be on TV, they wanted to make money, they didn't give a shit, to oh my God, you're taking this seriously, to wanting to be an example for other people.
Oh, that's amazing.
Amazing. Yeah, amazing.
How powerful.
It's interesting because a lot of people will be like, whenever I bring up Celebrity Rehab, like a lot of people feel like it was an exploitative enterprise.
To me, that's like, ask the patients.
Well, number one, all reality television is exploitive. Well, no, wait a minute.
So when we do this, my response is, so when we do an appendectomy on TV, that's okay, but to discuss brain disease is not okay? That's unbelievable to me. Well, that's stigmatizing.
What I always say, though, is like, I feel like the discourse around addiction was catalyzed by that show in this country.
That's true. I hope so.
Like there wasn't sort of a large understanding of what addiction looked like and that it could also have treatment options.
Yep, I agree with you. That was our goal. That was really our goal.
But I also just think that reality television is just exploitive any way you look at it. It's like, okay, the Kardashians are being exploited, but they're fine,
Right. Well, they all agreed to it. So if everyone's in agreement.
We need to figure out what we mean by exploitative. You know what I mean? Because like, does Kim Kardashian feel exploited? That's an interesting question. Is she
Yeah.
feel exploited? Do the producers, does Ryan Seacrest, who produces it, feel like he's exploiting her? Is he worried that he is? Be interesting.
Probably not.
Well,
they're executive producers, so I guarantee you nothing is out there that they don't want out there.
Yeah.
So then how they would be exploiting themselves.
Yeah.
If they're signing off on everything we get to see, then they've...
But we have to really think about it. We should talk more about
Interesting
that.
question.
I'm interested in
But
what people mean
what did
by
you
that.
learn about Paulina?
What an amazing writer she is. I learned about her experience with fourth wave feminism and how moving that was for her, and I came to understand it better because of her experience, and how much I love working with her, and what a great joy it is to be a part of this.
That's awesome. Well, I love this book. I really, really do. I actually made book club it also. I'm not joking, because the two people I gave it to are my two book clubbers, and I was like, we may need to book club this book. So I might
give
book
us some
club it
feedback
also.
when you-
Listen, if you want a guest speaker, I'll come.
Okay,
Yeah.
I would love that.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. Yeah.
That would be interesting.
I
for you.
love a book group.
Oh well,
love
I
a
book
book
club every month. We have a book club on my.
You guys are
podcast.
separated at birth or something, right?
We might have been. You come over anytime. Talk to me about books.
I'm down.
Whatever. Thank you so much for coming today. You know, it's been a dream of mine to have you on my podcast, and I've always been too shy to ask. So
Dan,
I was
are
so
you
flattered.
freaking kidding me? If you want me
No, I'm
back
not
anytime, seriously, I'm being
thank you.
dead serious with you. Anytime.
Well, thank
Practice
you.
your boundaries and to trust
no,
yourself.
No. The reason is I know how busy you
It
are.
doesn't.
You are so
I
busy.
have, but I'm not
And
that.
so-
I'm not as busy as I have been, and I have priorities. I can prioritize things.
Well,
you guys be a
thank
priority, please. Don't.
And
don't
I'm
do
going to ask you afterwards if you want to come back and talk to me about something else. But I'm going to ask you.
Ooh, I love this. Is intriguing. I'm in.
Anyway, it doesn't have to be awkward by Dr. Drew and Paulina Pinsky. Pick it up. Audiobook, Amazon, wherever you buy. I'll put a link on my website. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This has been
We'll be back.
really lovely.
Please become back.
We'll be
Yes.
back for
Please.
sure.
Please come back.